Welcome to the Safety and Crisis Training for Our Lady of Perpetual Help Catholic School and Parish staff.
I'd like to begin by offering a broader perspective on campus and community safety. Consider these desert photos. We're all familiar with the physical aspects of the desert: the rocks, sand, cactus spikes, desert creatures, and so on. But if we only focus on those up-close details, we miss the broader view that shows the mountain, the shadows, the sky, and clouds, which are also part of the desert. In the same way, the typical view of safety includes all the up-close details associated with the physical aspects of a secure campus. But like the desert, the concept of campus and community safety is much broader than just those up-close physical aspects. We need to consider more than just fire drills, locked doors, or how to deal with crisis situations if we want to have a truly safe campus and community.
And so for our purposes here at OLPH, we will always consider safety in the broadest sense to mean supporting and fostering the physical, social, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being of the entire OLPH school and parish community, including staff, students, parents, families, parishioners, visitors, and guests. A growing body of research indicates that kids who feel safe with their teachers have lower levels of the stress hormone cortisol and higher levels of learning. And so too for us. When we feel safe in our personal and professional environments, we also have lower levels of stress and cortisol, and higher levels of creative, satisfying, and productive work and relationships. Let's look a little closer at the dynamics and various aspects of safety. Safety has many dimensions. That is, people feel safe or unsafe in a whole variety of ways. Physical safety involves our campus and our own person. This is what we usually talk about in safety and crisis training. But there are all these other types of safety as well. Emotional safety. Every person wants and needs to be seen, heard, and understood. We want to have connection and healthy relationships. We want to be able to be ourselves and to feel accepted. This produces emotional safety for us. There's also sensory safety. We all have different sensory needs and different sensory tolerances or thresholds. Visually, with sound, touch, smell, and so on. Then there's learning safety. This involves whether or not my learning needs are being met. Is it safe to make mistakes, or do I feel the need to be perfect the first time? It's about a growth mindset as opposed to a fixed mindset. Relational safety involves whether or not I can be accepted for who I am and just be myself. Relational safety involves power dynamics, social dynamics, who's in, who's out. Spiritual safety is also important. It includes the head and heart, our personal relationship with God, knowing that we are loved and valued by God as we are created in this divine image of love. We all have God-given dignity, and so our environment needs to be safe, nurturing, and non-judgmental in a spiritual sense. A truly safe environment or community is safe in all of these ways. Consider for a moment your own safe places in relationship and how each of these aspects of safety are present. On the flip side, we've all experienced threats to each of these dimensions of safety. Think of a relationship that carries any kind of stress or tension for you. Which of these areas of safety is not as strong as it needs to be for you in that environment or relationship? When any of these dimensions of safety are strained or violated or lacking, whether in a community, a relationship, or a place, what I call our feeling brain actually experiences it as a threat and sets off the stress response in our body. So, what can we do? Some threats to our felt sense of safety are inevitable, but many can also be prevented. In other words, there are things we can control, and there are things we can't control. With the things we can control, they are typically situations within ourselves, among our staff, within our community. Things like the culture of safety that we develop and promote among our staff, our families, and students. The physical security of our campus, like keeping gates locked. Knowing all of our emergency procedures and how to properly supervise students. But also included in what we can control is awareness and regulation of our own emotions. This influences how we respond to situations and how we communicate with others. But then there are those things that we can't control, those things that happen outside of ourselves as individuals, as a community, or as a society. Things like a pandemic or illness, events that happen in the local neighborhood or the world, weather events or bees on campus, even other people's personalities or moods, or other people's family situations, disagreements that we have with others. All of these are not always within our circle of control, even though they are within our circle of concern. Here's a key in terms of supporting and fostering safety in our community. If we together focus on the things we can control, we'll be better able to handle the things we can't control whenever they do arise. And they will arise. Let's look at this model for creating safe, supportive, and nurturing communities. This is based on a model for thinking about the dynamics of trauma. We have connection, safety, and emotional regulation that all work together. When I feel connected to a person or community, there is an inherent safety. Likewise, if I feel safe someplace, it's more easily for me to feel connected. Both of these dynamics of connections and safety are also related to emotion regulation. If someone is able to regulate their emotion, it's easier for me to feel safe with them, and also easier to develop connection with them. But if someone is not able to regulate emotion, then safety is jeopardized, as is connection. So these three dynamics all work together. And when they are working together, we experience relationships that are based in trust, or what we call trust-based relationships. But when one or more of these three dynamics are disrupted for any reason, we experience stress in ourselves and in the relationship. Trust is weakened, and the way opens for unhealthy relationships or unsafe community. So what's the point? I suspect we all want to have a campus and community that are safe for everyone in all the various ways we've talked about, physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and so on. None of us wants to live in fear or constant stress over what might happen on our campus or within our community relationships. Safe, supportive, and nurturing communities have their foundation in these trust-based relationships that honor and foster connection, safety, and emotional regulation. Remember, for our purposes here, safety is supporting and fostering the physical, social, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being of the entire OLPH community, including staff, students, parents, families, parishioners, visitors, and guests. So as we approach our safety and crisis plans, let's consider these plans as just one aspect of this broader perspective of being a truly safe and trust-based community for our students, our parishioners, and for each other. Also, consider the safety and crisis training that we focus on today as just one part of our ongoing learning and conversation with each other about building a solid foundation of safety, community, and trust-based relationships, and ultimately for fostering the social, emotional growth and well-being for those we serve and for ourselves. With this broader perspective on safety in all its dimensions, We can now shift our focus to those up-close details of how we can prevent, prepare for, and respond to threats to that safety of those we love and serve. All the while, we must remember that a safe OLPH community begins with us as individuals and as a staff, and we all have a part to play in it. Keep in mind that one of our primary responsibilities is to keep the children and adults entrusted to our care safe at all times, in all the different aspects of safety. I want to emphasize the importance of having this training and review every year. A healthy and safe community is one in which all members are empowered to take action to prevent loss of life, injury, or damage to property. So having a plan and procedures and protocol in place before an emergency or crisis occurs is important for the protection of life and property. This training and the procedures documents are intended to serve as information and reference for staff, but they don't replace common sense, sound judgment, and prudent actions in response to crisis situations. It will be helpful for you to have one of these emergency procedures documents pictured here with you as a reference while you watch the rest of this video. We consider a crisis to be an event, pending event, or unstable condition which seriously impacts members of the school community. During any crisis, there are general responsibilities that the staff here at OLPH must carry out. You can refer to these on the inside front cover of your emergency procedures document. To review these general staff responsibilities: maintain calm. Be ready to make quick decisions, but do not compromise your personal safety or the safety of students. Listen for announcements and check text alerts for ongoing information. Contact the administration with your location, attendance, or for needed assistance. With your cell phones, you are asked to carry them with you at all times when you are out of your classroom or office. Have it readily accessible to you when you are in your classroom or office, and have it appropriately audible for text or calls. During an active crisis, have your phone with you and on silent alert so that you can receive messages from the office, but please avoid calls or messages to the outside. These are the general staff responsibilities in any crisis or emergency situation. And now we proceed with these three dimensions that ensure the physical safety of our community. They are crisis prevention, crisis preparedness, and crisis procedures. These three aspects of our crisis plan are all very important, and we will look at each of them in detail. First is crisis prevention. In keeping our campus and community safe, it is all about prevention and what we do to prevent a situation from escalating into a crisis. So let's consider four essential components of crisis prevention in our school and parish. There's administration support, our safe environment practices, awareness, and supervision. First is prevention through the administration support from the parish and school. Bring any concerns about a student, staff member, or situation to the appropriate administrator, Donna at the school or Father Greg at the parish. The school staff will inform those involved with students on any health conditions and needs of students and provide training as needed in first aid, CPR, the use of EpiPens, etc. You can bring any student health concerns to the attention of Josie or Maria. As counselor, Robin provides information and support regarding mental and behavioral health concerns for students or staff. Things such as depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation or threat, abuse concerns, trauma-related concerns, and so on. Any personal or relational concerns affecting students can also be brought to her attention. Two-way communication is key. We can prevent a crisis by being in communication with each other, staff, and administration. You don't need to address all problems or concerns on your own, nor should you. Communication both ways is part of our prevention. The second dimension of crisis prevention is through our safe environment. All staff, volunteers, and vendors must be set compliant per the Diocese of Phoenix. Visitors to the school office sign in through our electronic system, and visitors to the Parish Life Center are admitted through checking in at the front desk. This enables us to know who is on our campus at any time. Our gates must be locked at all times, and classroom doors must be locked at all times. We can prevent a crisis by following the locked door policy and all of our other safe environment practices. The third dimension of crisis prevention is through our awareness. Be alert, notice things, and take care of them right away, or report them to the administration so they can be addressed promptly. For example, if you see an open classroom door and no one is in there, close it. If you come upon an unlocked door or gate, lock it. If a lock or gate isn't working correctly, let administration know right away. If you see a visiting adult without a visitor ID badge, reach out and check on who they are and why they're on campus. If you see someone lurking or waiting outside of gates or fences, alert the school or parish office immediately. If an adult you don't recognize comes to pick a child up, find out who they are and check if they are authorized to pick up that child. As we often hear, if you see something, say something. We can prevent a crisis through this kind of alert awareness. Fourth is crisis prevention through supervision. It goes without saying, do not leave students unsupervised in a classroom or area on campus at any time. When you are supervising students, always be sure to fully engage your mental attention in addition to your physical presence. When supervising students, be sure to keep an eye on all areas, especially those that can be a bit more hidden on the playground and other areas around the school, such as the space behind the elevator, the space around the cooler wall by 7A, the corner space by the south gate outside of McGuire Hall, and so on. Remember, when you are on duty supervising a group of students outside, at lunch, in the classroom, or any activity, you need to be like a lifeguard at the pool or the beach, constantly scanning the area under your surveillance so that nothing is missing. I'd like to now review some reminders about supervision, particularly for our school staff. Beginning with recess and supervision on the blacktop field or playground areas. Adults should spread out to cover all areas, or keep all students contained to one area. For example, there should not be an unsupervised student on the field when everyone else, including the teachers, on the blacktop, or vice versa. Continually scan the area that you're supervising. If you need to be engaged in conversation with others, still keep your eyes on the students at all times. Watch not only the kids, but also scan areas near walls and gates. There should be no phone use while you're supervising unless you're contacting someone about a situation out there. We need all of you to be ready to be a witness, because if something happens while you're the adult in charge, you can't just say you didn't see it. We need you to be aware of what is happening. All school staff should know and consistently enforce the recess and playground rules and procedures as part of our crisis prevention. Next is a reminder about supervising lines and movement outside the classroom around campus. The best option is probably to have a student lead the line with an adult at the end of the line watching all of the students. But also possible would be to have an adult at the front of the line, facing the students and walking backwards, or having the adult walk alongside the middle of the line while also scanning front to back as you walk. We advise you to practice walking in straight lines with all ages of students. Another reminder about having students work outside of the classroom. The best option would be to have all students outside as the teacher is with them and keeping watch. Another option would be to have some students inside and some outside, with 2 adults, one adult inside and one outside. Or if you have only one adult, that adult should stand in the doorway, scanning both the indoor and outdoor areas. Sending kids to wait outside the classroom is never an option. By doing so, you create a second unsupervised classroom for which you are liable for the safety of those students. Special supervision is needed as children are traveling outside of the school gated area to and from the atrium. It's essential to have 2 adults accompanying and supervising students as they go to and from the atrium outside of the school gates. The school and CGS staff will consult before atrium begins to determine a procedure that ensures the proper supervision of students when they are outside of the school gates for CGS. So to summarize our crisis prevention at OLPH, we are all responsible for crisis prevention through working and communicating with our respective administrations, through our safe environment practices, through our attentive awareness, and through our proper supervision of students. Next, we'll take a look at crisis preparedness at OLPH. Just like with crisis prevention, crisis preparedness involves everyone: the school administration, the parish administration, and all staff at the parish and school and atrium. How we act in a crisis is directly related to how we have prepared ourselves. Let's take a look at the role of each of these groups in terms of crisis preparedness. First is the school administration. The school administration stays prepared by maintaining contact with our local emergency personnel, Scottsdale Fire and Police, and the Scottsdale Unified School District. We have a building and numbering system in place for our rooms. You can refer to the property map on the back of your emergency procedures document, and I strongly suggest that you learn the number of your own classroom. The school administration establishes the rapid response team with 2 people designated as the rapid response coordinators. They maintain the crisis binder and crisis bag that are kept in the front office. They stay prepared also by having the cell phone numbers of all school staff as well as the key parish staff programmed into their phone contacts. And finally, by having a system for sending emergency text alerts to the school and parish staff through our fax alert system. The parish administration also has some responsibilities for preparedness. The parish administration stays prepared by having parish staff members on the rapid response team of the school, by having phone numbers for all parish staff as well as key school staff programmed into their phone contacts, and by having a system in place to send emergency text alerts to all parish and school staff. All staff in the school, parish, and atrium stay prepared through a variety of ongoing actions, the first of which is being familiar with all of our emergency procedures. Each room in the school and parish life center should have an easily accessible emergency pack that includes the appropriate emergency procedures document for your site. All staff must read this entire document again each year, as there may be some revisions from the previous year, but also simply to review and have the procedures fresh in your mind. All staff also need to prepare by knowing the location of emergency equipment. Fully equipped first aid kits are located in the school health office, in the Parish Life Center on the top shelf by the door closest to Padre Kino room, and in the McGuire Hall kitchen on top of the refrigerator. Automated external defibrillators, AEDs, are located in two places. First, in the school health office, and the second, in the Parish Life Center gym in the stage area. Fire extinguishers are located throughout the campus. Every classroom should have a fire extinguisher, except those in McGuire Hall, where the extinguishers are located in the hallways. Any offices or rooms on campus that don't have an extinguisher have a sign to indicate the location of the nearest fire extinguisher. Be sure to locate the fire extinguishers in and closest to the rooms you occupy or. To be prepared, the emergency phone sign is to be prominently displayed next to every landline on campus. In addition, all staff need to have the phone numbers of all their respective staff members at the school or parish programmed into their phone contacts. Please refer to the staff cell phone list provided to you by your administrator. For school staff, the list is on the Google file that has been shared with you. These cell numbers are absolutely confidential and are not to be shared outside of the staff. You may also want to include the emergency text alert number 31706 in your phone contacts so that your phone does not block it when an emergency text comes through. Emergency instruction signs are provided to you and need to be prominently displayed in each room. These signs will help in the event of a crisis. Be sure to have an updated evacuation map posted by the door and emergency folder in each room. A clear the room sign posted by the emergency folder in each room. And your emergency folder sign should be facing out through the wall pocket. Emergency preparedness also involves our classrooms and offices. First, all doors should have a blackout shade that is used to cover the door window during a lockdown. Some rooms also have curtains or blinds as additional window covering. Second, identify places in your room or office that are good hiding places out of view from any window. Examples include under the windows, behind shelves, in the back part of cubby areas. Some rooms may have a rod and curtains across the cubby area for extra hiding space. And third, be aware of items in your room that could be used to further barricade a locked door, such as a shelf, desks, or chairs. You may want to learn the method for using a chair to jam your door handle as well. As you arrange your rooms and offices, you may want to strategically place these items near the doors. Also, be aware of items that could be used for taking action against an intruder, such as chairs, a fire extinguisher, water bottles, garbage cans, etc. All staff should have their keys and phone and ID badge with them at all times. Why are keys a part of preparedness? At any time, we need to be prepared to open a gate or classroom door that is locked in order to exit or enter in an emergency. Why your phone? We will use a text alert system to notify all staff in the event of an emergency and to keep you informed as needed during the emergency. Why the ID badge? If emergency personnel are on campus, our ID badge will let them know that we are legitimately supposed to be here on campus. Or, in the event of extreme emergency, will help to identify who we are. In addition, the school staff should have a whistle with them at all times in the event that they need to get the attention of students quickly on the field or in the pavilion. You're encouraged to find a convenient way to carry all these items with you at all times. We also prepare for emergencies by making sure we are ready and capable of receiving emergency text alerts on our cell phones. And finally, as a staff, we need to make students in our care also prepared to deal with emergencies, whether that is in our classrooms, on the PE field, or in the atrium. We need to pre-teach all of the necessary emergency procedures in age-appropriate ways from the simplest task of how to use a classroom phone to call for help to the more difficult task of locking down and barricading the doors of the classroom. And we need to practice these procedures on a routine basis through classroom and school-wide drills, as well as practicing them in the CGS rooms.
Drills are another part of our school-wide crisis preparedness. The goal of any drill is to practice the procedure, not to frighten or stress anyone. Before school begins each year, the staff will practice the three-way alert communication system. Then during the first week of school, we will have a clear the room drill that you will coordinate with your partner classroom. We'll have an evacuation drill and a lockdown drill. We'll let you know when that first evacuation drill and lockdown drill will be. During the year then, we will practice an evacuation drill monthly. We'll have a reverse evacuation drill during the first month of each semester, and we'll do the clear the room and lockdown drill each semester.
For our school staff only, we ask you to prepare for the beginning of the school year by completing everything on the staff safety checklist provided to you and turn it in to the front office. Also for school staff, we need to prepare for visits to the church. All school staff who take a class over to church for any reason, mass, adoration, or rehearsal, must follow these steps. 1. Take your emergency folder from the classroom to the church. 2. Have your cell phone with you and on vibrate or silent alert. And 3. If it's not an all-school event at the church, you must let the front office know you are going by calling extension 3720. Also for our school staff, another procedure regarding updates on new or withdrawing students. The office notifies all school and atrium staff with new or withdrawing students' name and homeroom. Pay attention to these email notices even when it's not your class or student. Class lists will be updated in your emergency folders as needed. To summarize, our crisis preparedness takes all of us working together and doing our part. The parish administration, school administration, and the entire staff of both parish and school. We can never completely prevent or prepare for every crisis, but having all of these prevention and preparedness practices in place will make a significant difference when something beyond our control happens. Now we will review the crisis procedures that we all need to know and be familiar with. First, a reminder that all of the crisis procedures are outlined in our emergency procedures document, along with the information for other surgeon-specific emergencies. We all need to be familiar with this document. The particular document pictured is titled as specific to the school classrooms, but most of it applies across the property. If the parish and PLC staff want to adapt this classroom document to make an emergency procedures document more specific to the PLC, we will gladly share our digital files with you from the school. An emergency procedures document needs to be easily accessible in every room on the school and parish campus. In the school, we use a plastic wall pocket by a door in every classroom to hold an emergency folder containing, among other things, this emergency procedures document. You may want to refer to the specific sections of the emergency procedures document as we now review each procedure. Please refer first to the emergency phone number section of the emergency procedures document. For life-threatening emergencies, anybody can call 911 on any phone. When you call 911, if you're using a landline, press 9 for an outside line before pressing 911. If the emergency is at the school, be sure to make this clear to 911 dispatch by giving them the school address. This is found in the emergency procedures document and on the emergency phone sign posted by every landline. We strongly suggest having the school address readily available on your phone for quick reference during a 911 call. Finally, stay on the line with 911 anytime you call for an emergency. Also, call your site administrator as soon as possible. That is, our pastor, principal, or the front desk in your location. If you can't call parish or school administration right away because you're on a call with 911, please ensure that somebody else does it for you. It's critical to contact the administration to initiate emergency protocols as soon as possible. In response to an emergency, there are 5 basic procedures we use that will involve directing or moving students and staff, as listed here. Clear the room, on-site evacuation, off-site evacuation and reunification, emergency lockdown, and reverse evacuation. We'll review each of these procedures. Additional information and details for each are found in the emergency procedures document, to which you may want to refer as we continue. The first basic procedure is called clear the room. The clear the room procedure is used when there is a disruptive student, a medical emergency, or some other incident that is unsafe, or that students and other observers don't need to witness. The location for each room is indicated on the clear the room sign in each room on campus. The process goes like this. A staff member in the room announces, "Clear the room." Students leave immediately and report to the designated location. One student knocks loudly and continuously on the door and announces they need to come in. The receiving classroom opens the door immediately, and the receiving staff member notifies the administration or office immediately for assistance and keeps the students until they can return to their own classroom. The sending staff member stays in the room with the situation until assistance arrives, unless his or her physical safety is jeopardized. The school staff should refer to the clear the room list of partner classrooms to see where you will send students and also to which room will be coming to you during a situation requiring a clear the room procedure. During recess or other outside activities, we use clear the field or clear the court, and students are to move to the tables under the trees by the art room and remain there for further instructions. One adult should accompany the students while the other adult stays with the situation. Clear the room is our first and simplest procedure for all staff to be familiar with. The second basic procedure that involves moving students and staff is an on-site evacuation. The on-site evacuation procedure is used if, 1, it is safer outside than inside a building, such as in the case of a fire, explosion, or hazardous material spill, and if staff, students, and visitors can safely reach an evacuation location without danger. An on-site evacuation is typically announced by sounding the fire alarm, in which case follow these steps. Preschool classrooms within the preschool area. Evacuate through the gate behind the stairs next to first grade. Grades K through 8 and any preschool students on campus outside of the preschool area evacuate to the field by the back wall. Parish staff and visitors to the PLC should evacuate to the northeast corner of the rectory lawn. Now, there are situations which an on-site evacuation might be announced not by the fire alarm, by what we call a 3-way alert. By that we mean, in a 3-way alert, the office staff will do 3 things. They will make an announcement on the PA system, they will call the PLC, and they will send a text alert. This will happen particularly if there needs to be an alternative evacuation plan different from our usual one. In this case, the evacuation location will be identified and all should evacuate to that location. Once the parish staff receives the call in the three-way alert, they will in turn notify classes in the atrium rooms. When evacuating on site, follow these steps. Close the windows and turn off the lights. Take your emergency folder, cell phone, keys, and whistle with you. Close the doors. Walk quickly, orderly, and silently to your assigned position on the church lawn or the field. If the route to your location is not safe, go to an alternate safe location. The front student in each room line holds the sign to identify your home room. Take roll and account for all students and staff, and report that accounting to the school administration. If you are on the field, you will use the red and green cards to communicate your attendance. Hold up the red card if you are missing a student based on the RenWeb attendance that day. Hold up the green card if all your students are accounted for. In the other locations, particularly with parish staff and our preschool, call or text the administrator on your site with your location and an accounting of students or others with you. Special staff assignments, such as bathroom checks on the school campus, should report to the administration in your location. And finally, remain silent to listen for further instructions or the all clear signal. This is our second emergency procedure, on-site evacuation. The third basic emergency procedure is an off-site evacuation. An off-site evacuation will, by necessity, always involve a reunification process of students with their parents. We use the off-site evacuation procedure whenever it's necessary for everyone to leave the campus for safety reasons. This may involve emergency personnel to assist us. Off-site evacuations will be announced with a three-way alert. As soon as you hear or receive this announcement, evacuate immediately to the location directed. The typical locations for the school to initially go will be the dirt lot on Main Street through the north gates of the school campus, or the front parking lot on Miller Road through the west campus gates. We do have pre-identified locations where we will proceed from there, but this information is kept confidential for safety reasons. When evacuating to an off-site location, we will follow these steps. Close your windows, turn off your lights, and close your doors. Take your emergency folder, cell phone, keys, and whistle. Walk quickly to the designated gathering area. Follow the directions of school administration or emergency personnel in leading students to the off-site location. If needed, students may instruct older students to pair up with younger students by holding their hand and walking with them. Once we are secure in the off-site location, we each have a role to play. The reunification team, consisting primarily of administration and front office staff, will oversee everything from traffic control to crisis intervention to the actual process of reuniting students and parents. Homeroom teachers have the role of taking attendance and communicating it to the school administration. They then maintain calm and order among students while waiting to be reunited with their parents. Specialist teachers and instructional assistants work with the reunification team to monitor bathrooms, retrieve students, and accompany students to the area where they will be reunited with their parents. This is our third basic procedure, an off-site evacuation and reunification. The fourth emergency procedures involves two types of lockdowns. The emergency lockdown procedure, or lockdown procedure, will be initiated when it's necessary for everyone to remain secure inside a locked building. We will always use a three-way alert system to announce lockdowns. If you hear emergency lockdown, it means there is an immediate threat requiring protection, so everything stops and there must be no movement or noise on or around the entire school and parish campus. A lockdown means that everyone must stay inside locked rooms with no movement outside of the room or around the campus, but activity may continue inside that classroom or office. So, when you hear an announcement or receive a text message of emergency lockdown now, move into action immediately with these steps. If it's safe to do so, quickly look outside your room and bring in anyone who is immediately in view. Have all your doors locked, close your windows, cover windows as your room allows, and turn off the lights. Quickly move everyone to an area of the room that is least visible from the outside. Barricade doors as possible anytime, but most importantly, if it's announced that there is an intruder on campus. If you hear the alert of emergency lockdown, here are some additional things to remember. Keep your cell phone with you and on a silent alert. Remain silent and have students remain silent. Account for students and others who are with you. Listen for any announcements and check text alerts for updates and further instructions. But remember, in an emergency lockdown, everything stops. Students and staff who are outside when an emergency lockdown is called should immediately enter the closest room. They can pound loudly on the door to notify those in the room. Look out the door window before you open the door. If someone is in the restroom, particularly older students, they have the option to remain inside the restroom and lock the outside restroom door. Now for the second type of lockdown. When you hear an announcement or receive a text message of lockdown now, move into action immediately. Quickly look outside your room and bring in anyone who is immediately in view. Also check bathrooms near your room and bring students into your room. Lock the doors, close the windows, and cover windows as your room allows. In a lockdown, keep your cell phone with you and on silent alert. Do not make calls to the outside. As with the emergency lockdown, students should not have their cell phones. Next, account for students and others. Listen for announcements and check text alerts for updates and further instructions. In a lockdown, classroom and office activity may continue, but no one can leave the room or building to go outside at any time. So use the comfort kit in your classroom as needed. Your classroom comfort kit contains items you may need if we need to remain locked down in classrooms for an extended period of time. Please be familiar with the items that are in your comfort kit. A necessary but uncomfortable part of this is setting up a way for students to take care of bathroom needs while in an extended lockdown. Unless, of course, you have a classroom with its own self-contained bathroom. The best way to accomplish this is to set up a privacy area in a corner of your room using a garbage can lined with a trash bag and having the toilet paper and wipes from your comfort kit available. For privacy, hold or tape the plastic tablecloth included in the comfort kit around or in front of that area. There are door barricade options available for either type of lockdown. The first is to slide something large in front of your door. The second is to know the procedure for barricading a door with a classroom chair. If a fire alarm rings during either type of lockdown, do not immediately evacuate. Watch instead for text message from the office to confirm the evacuation. There are several ways we've established to communicate with the administration and emergency personnel during either type of lockdown, when and if it is safe to do so. This information is spelled out for you in the emergency procedures document on the lockdown page. The first and primary way of communicating during either type of lockdown is through email. School folks and atrium staff, when OLPH school children are with them during the school day, should email your attendance information to school@olphaz.org. Parish folks, including atrium classes outside of the school day, should email your information to parish@olphaz.org. These are the school and parish general email addresses, not our in-house Google groups. So you can email from any email address you have access to on your phone, iPad, or computer. In emailing your school attendants or those who are with you, put simple details in the content of the email, and in the subject line, use your first and last name. The simple details should include your location, the class or group you have with you, and anyone who is present, missing, or extra. If you're missing someone, state if you know where you think they are. Take a look at these examples. Example 1, subject, Mary Smith, a first and last name. Content, in room 6A with 6B class, all present. Simple details of your location and group. Example number 2, subject, Mary Smith. Content, in music room with 4A, extra, Mr. White, missing, Joe Brown, restroom. There are other communication options also during a lockdown. We ask that you use email, though, for communicating your attendance. You can text your administrator if you need help with any emergency or situation in your room during a lockdown. Please note, do not call the front school office or PLC front desk during a lockdown because no one will be there. They will also be locked down in a safe location. Additional communication as needed from school staff or atrium staff who are with OLPH students can also occur through that general school email address, school@olphaz.org, or text. For parish and atrium staff outside of the school day, you could use the general parish email address, parish@olphaz.org. Now, there is a third method of communicating also, but it is only used if and when prompted through a text alert or emergency personnel. And that is, we can communicate by placing the red or green card from your emergency folder in your door window or under your door to indicate an injury or trouble. We do not use this unless we are prompted through a text alert or emergency personnel, and we don't use the red and green cards to account for students. If prompted to do so, red means you need help because there is a life-threatening injury or emergency inside your room. Green means that you are communicating all clear with no injuries or problem in your room. These communication methods conclude our fourth emergency procedure, the emergency lockdown and lockdown. The fifth basic procedure is a reverse evacuation. We use a reverse evacuation procedure if a large group of students is outside when an emergency lockdown or lockdown is called, such as during recess or change of classes, in the pavilion, or simply a group walking across campus. It also may be initiated by someone who sees a dangerous situation outside, such as a swarm of bees. If you are in this situation, follow these steps. Immediately get the attention of students through loud, rapid whistle blows for an extended time, like this. Direct students and staff to move quickly to the closest safe enclosed area or classroom. Not the pavilion, though, because of the glass doors. Once inside, lock the doors and follow the procedure for emergency lockdown or lockdown as the case may be. As always, listen for announcements and check text alerts for further information. A note about bringing students into the PLC during a reverse evacuation from the field or pavilion. Both locker rooms have door handle locks installed on the inside so that the locker rooms are the safest place to lock down in the PLC. This completes the 5th basic procedure, reverse evacuation. Many of the principles from these 5 basic emergency procedures we have just reviewed will come into play if we are ever faced with the most serious of emergencies, an active shooter or violent intruder situation. While we don't like to think of that possibility, we know that being prepared and knowing what to do can mean the difference between life and death. We can only react as we are trained. A written summary of the main points is provided in the Emergency Procedures document under the title ASAP, an acronym for Active Shooter Action Plan. If you are part of the school staff, you are asked to watch the school safety intruder videos provided by Catholic Mutual Group, which are accessible through CMG Connect, the same site where we do our safe environment renewal training. The first video, Defeating a Violent Intruder, is required. The second video, Getting Prepared to Defeat a Violent Intruder, is highly recommended. If you are part of the parish staff, I recommend the Critical Incidents, Preparation and Response video, also on the CMG Connect site. These videos are very sobering, to be sure, but you understand that we need to be as prepared as possible for anything. And so we need to consider the information in these videos. We also hope and pray that we never need to use any of it. Finally, we will now review the remaining emergency procedures for some specific situations noted in the Emergency Procedures document. An off-campus incident or accident, a missing or abducted child or person, threats, and other various campus situations. First is the emergency procedure for an off-campus incident or accident. There are staff responsibilities and administration responsibilities. In the event of an accident, bus breakdown, or other incident while on a field trip, staff members in charge have the responsibility to ensure the safety of students and staff by doing the following. Keep the students in one area or on the bus unless it is unsafe to do so. Call 911 as needed. Assist in a bus evacuation or direct unaffected people to a safe and secure area away from the incident. Notify administration or school office as soon as possible. Account for all students and have student emergency cards available for emergency personnel if needed. If it is an incident that involves bus transporting students, keep the students on the bus unless it's unsafe to do so. The bus driver will secure the bus and display warning signs, and your role is to assist the bus driver in any way needed. In the case of an off-campus incident or accident, the school also will have certain responsibilities. Once the school is notified of an off-campus incident, a school administrator will report to the scene for assistance if needed. The school office notifies the students' parents of the incident, and the administrator notifies the pastor and superintendent's office. You can refer to the Administration Rapid Response Team Emergency Procedures for additional information as needed. In the event of an abduction or unauthorized removal, take the following actions. If possible, attempt to persuade the abductor to not commit the threat. But do not place yourself or students in harm's way at any time. Notify a school administrator immediately. They will notify police and initiate a missing person or child protocol. Write a detailed description of the abductor and the child, the vehicle, and direction they are headed. Detain any students or staff who witnessed the event for interviews with the administrator and law enforcement. Finally, there's an emergency procedure to follow for any threat made to the school or parish by any means. In the event of a phone threat, including a bomb threat, follow these steps. Keep the caller on the phone line as long as you can, but also, while you're on the call with them, notify someone else while you have them on the line. Ask questions to the caller and identify other indicators such as voice, background sounds, and the specific threat language used. You can use the checklist on the back of the emergency procedures document as a reference. Record the number displayed on the caller ID and the number at which the call was received, and then notify school or parish administrator as soon as possible. Upon receiving or locating a threat verbally, through a written note, text message, email, or social media, follow these steps. Notify the school and/or parish administrator immediately. Provide the exact content and any other information about the threat or the person making the threat. We also must consider procedures for emergencies in church. An emergency while at church could result in any of the following actions: clear the pews, evacuate the church, lockdown in church, emergency lockdown in church, violent intruder action plan, or off-campus evacuation. Follow any general directions given in these circumstances, but also be ready to think quickly and clearly on your feet in order to keep the students under your supervision as safe as possible. Keep your cell phone on silent alert and keep your emergency folder with you. In the event of a lockdown in church, the crisis team will be able to direct you and your students. In the event of a fire in church, the crisis team will be able to direct where to exit and where to meet. But as always, think on your feet. If a medical emergency should occur in church, the crisis team will direct, but you may need to clear the pews around the person or area. And if there is the situation of an intruder in church, the crisis team will go into action. In that event of an intruder in church, we need everyone to think on your feet, having also been aware of your options ahead of time. So when you're at Mass, identify exits and potential hiding places close to your seating area. You can institute one of the three main options. The run option is to exit the church building with your students to a safe place in the school, PLC, or elsewhere. There is the hide option, where you and students will exit the main church to a lockable place in the building, such as the sacristy, bathroom, the preschool room from the chapel foyer, or even under the pews as a last resort. The fight option is best to leave to other adults. The teacher's goal is to get the students to a place or position that is as safe as possible in the event of an intruder in church. You will find additional crisis response information at the end of the emergency procedures document. There will be information on how to handle a disruptive student or person on site, what to do in the event of drug possession, use, or sale on campus, an explosion, fire, or arson, how to handle an intruder or trespassing, what to do in the event of severe weather or a natural disaster, how to intervene with a suicide attempt or threat, and how to handle the situation if you become aware of the possibility of weapons on campus. It's very important to read through these items and be familiar with what is there. Now for a few closing thoughts on our emergency procedures. Each of the procedures reviewed in this training is a guide for conducting ourselves and keeping our students and staff safe in the event of an emergency or crisis in our school and parish. So be sure to familiarize yourselves with the full content of the emergency procedures document for your site. Remember, we can only respond as we are prepared, as we are trained, and as we know the emergency procedures. So please take all drills seriously and help our students to do the same by making sure they know exactly what to do. But common sense is also necessary, as is keeping clear and thinking on our feet. A special note here for staff members who also have their own children in the school. In an actual crisis, it will likely be hard for you to be both a teacher and a parent. You are naturally concerned about the safety of your own children. But just as you will be taking care of and protecting the children in your care, you will need to trust that the other staff members are doing the same for your children in their care and that they are keeping your children safe. In this safety and crisis training, we have reviewed our crisis prevention protocol, our crisis preparedness protocol, and our crisis procedures. And so we end with where we began, with emphasizing the importance of safety and crisis training. A healthy and safe community is one in which all members do their part and are empowered and prepared to take action to prevent loss of life, injury, or damage to property. Having protocols, procedures, and a plan in place before an emergency occurs is important for the protection of life and property. Always keep in mind that our primary responsibility is to keep the children and adults entrusted to our care safe at all times, and we all have a part to play in this. None of us can do it alone, but our combined efforts with keeping that broad perspective on all the many dimensions of safety, doing what we can to prevent a potential crisis, being prepared for a wide range of emergency situations, and knowing our emergency procedures will add up to ensure the safety and well-being of our school and parish community. Perspective, prevention, preparedness, and procedures are so much more effective when they are carried out in the context of a respectful, caring, and kind community environment. This concludes the video portion of the staff safety and crisis training for Our Lady of Perpetual Help Catholic School and Parish. As a follow-up to this video, all staff are asked to watch the CMG videos on violent intruder procedures and to read in full the emergency procedures document for your location or role. We all play an important part in the safety of our campus community. We are only as strong as our weakest link, so we depend on one another. So please be prepared, be safe, and as always, be kind. Thank you. God bless you.